Hi Stampers! Today I'm going to show you how to make a 3D image out of some of your stamp sets. Any stamp set that can be cut into layers works very well. This usually is flowers, but have seen animals and things where they have a wing or something of that nature that you can cut out. So you want to find outline stamps. This is the Flower Fest stamp set, and we're going to be using this flower in here. And as you can see, this has 4 layers to it. So this is a really great start to showing you how to do this particular project. It's nice if you can just stamp it on a piece of cardstock. It looks pretty that way and emboss it. But if you can actually stamp it 4 times and do layers and get this 3D effect, it just gives you much more interesting looking card. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you that technique real quick, and it's pretty simple. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a piece of cardstock, and I'm using Melon Mambo. I'm taking my embossing buddy here, and this just kind of takes some of the static off of the card so that when you do your embossing powder doesn't just fly away and stick everywhere. We're going to be using some Versamark ink, and I'm going to go ahead and ink up my stamp, and then we'll be applying some white embossing powder to the project. And we're going to be stamping this not once, not twice, but 4 times. We're stamping it for every layer that you're going to be cutting out and using. So I'm just applying my white embossing powder. This is just a piece of copy paper. Just going to put that in there to put that off to the side because we'll be reusing that. And I'm going to use my heat embossing gun and just get this heated up. Now you can do multiple stamps with the Versamark on a piece of paper and go ahead and use the embossing powder and then heat emboss them all at once. Just be careful that you don't hit the powder because it will smear. This is actually pretty dry already, so we could go ahead and cut this image out. Now the base layer for this one, I can actually use my 2 3/8 scallop punch, so that makes me only have to cut it 3 times rather than 4. So that's really a nice option to having stamps and punches that work well together. So we'll go ahead and get that lined up here. I'll have to make this paper just a little bit smaller to get my punch to fit in there properly. Sometimes the paper gets a little stiff when you're embossing it, so you have to kind of work with it a little bit. But I'm just going to go ahead and line this up, and we'll go ahead and just punch that bottom layer out. So that one is actually done. Then we'll go ahead and continue to do the same thing with the other 3 layers. So I'll just do the one and kind of show you what I'm doing here just to make it a little easier for you to see. So again, I'm just going to use my embossing buddy. Go ahead and stamp my image. Now this one we don't care about the outside layer, we've already got that, so we're going to conserve our paper a little bit. And we'll just go ahead and stamp that. Again, apply our embossing powder. Get that off a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp another image here. I'll get that out of my way here. And we'll just keep doing this until we have all of our images stamped and embossed. And then we'll go ahead and use the heat embossing tool once again. And always close up your Versamark and your make sure your powder isn't near the embossing gun so that you don't ruin it. Learn that little lesson. Okay, so now we're just going to go ahead and cut out our 3rd image here. So we're just going to cut off the outside since we don't need that piece anymore. And we'll go ahead and cut around this. So it's kind of like cutting paper dolls from when you were a little girl, if you remember that. Get rid of some of this excess paper here. So just, get it close. You don't have to be perfect on this, but you do want to just make sure you have your embossing powder on the outside of the ring that you're cutting, so that way you get a nice outline of the layer that you're doing. So don't cut inside that line, just on the outside. So now we have our third layer, and then we'll do our second and our first layer. But this is basically how it's going to work. And then what I've done is I've attached it using some dimensionals just to give it a little bit more height. So you would just put a dimensional right on the back of that and kind of line up the images so you have it fairly close to where the other image is at the bottom. And just pop it on. That's all you do. It's pretty simple. And then you can go ahead and apply it to different projects. This happens to be a scrapbook page that I'm making for one of my classes. And as you can see, this is one of the flowers that doesn't have any pop-up dimensionals, and this one does. So just kind of vary it. It really looks pretty that way. Have a great day. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching.